In this next chapter of our video lectures, we'll start looking at model elements in Revit. Floors, walls, rooms, etc. And the first object category we're going to look at is floors. Now there's basically two ways of creating a floor inside Revit. You can either go to the architecture menu and start the floor command. You'll enter some sketch mode where you can start sketching your sketch lines that are going to become a floor. Now, this is a floor element inside Revit. It has a category floor, it has a type, I'll get back to types, it has a set of parameters, just like the mass floors or views or whatever we selected earlier. It has a thickness, it has a material, and so on. You can edit this floor by double-clicking on it. You'll get back to the sketch lines, and you have to exit this command by either going the red cross or the green light for exiting. So this is a way of changing a floor. You can also click edit boundary, do the same thing, move this floor around or the sketch lines, and finish it like this. This is pretty simple. This floor sketch always have to be a closed loop. If you're trying to do stuff like this, you won't be able to exit the sketch mode. So you have to close this by basically just drawing a line that makes it a closed loop. Now this doesn't have to be a straight line. These sketch lines, they can be anything that you can see here in the line menu. You can use pick lines, you can draw an arc, you can draw spline or whatever. Let's try to just draw spline. So if you go spline, 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 and then finish, you have drawn a Revit floor with a splined edge. So this is like the floor tool in 2 seconds. If we have mass floors inside a Revit mass, like we have, we can generate multiple floors pretty quick. So let's delete this sample floor, and then instead of using just the floor command like straight out of the box right here, we can go fly out and say floor by face. The same command is actually located in the massing inside. You have the floor by face here. So this will just execute the same command. So when I go floor by face, Revit will not ask me to create sketch lines. Revit will ask me to select mass floors. You can actually see this. I haven't mentioned this yet, but in the bottom left corner, you have some kind of command prompt that will give you instructions as to what to do. So basically now Revit is saying select mass floors, select again to remove, press create floors. Perfect. One thing we're going to look at before we create all these floors and all the mass floor areas or surfaces is the the floor type. Basically, when you click here, edit type, you will see that Revit has a system of families and types. This family is called System Family Floor. System Family is basically everything that's hosting stuff inside Revit, like a floor or a wall or a level or something like that. And then type is the different variations of that system family or that system category or whatever. This is basically also the category. It's a bit confusing, this thing with system families, categories, everything. You'll learn that as you go. Basically, when it comes to floors, I try to just have the name of the floor type reflect the type parameters that I see in this list here. Type properties is the same as type parameters. You have parameters here, thicknesses and materials and so on. So I'll get into detail on this later, I hope. Let's just, for this exercise, we just click the flyout button, that's the properties palette, and then we change the floor type, the active floor type, to a generic 300. Generic is basically no material defined. It's a 300 millimeter thick floor. If you start using these other floor types, they will have more material definitions and stuff like that. So on a early project development like we're doing now, I normally just go with the generic families. So let's choose the generic 300 floor type, and then I just create a crossing section across the entire mass. And this I can basically do because no of the other masses, which is the neighboring buildings, have mass floors in them. So we can basically just create all the floors by letting go right now. And then it sort of pre-highlights all the mass floors inside this mass, and then I click create floors. And that's basically it. Now I can, I'm going to show you a smart function. I'm going to click on both these masses, and then I'm going to use a temporary hide command. So hide elements here, you'll get this cyan frame around your view, and then you can use assume extents, and you're basically allowed to move around in a smaller model without permanently hiding the elements that you clicked on. So basically now we have thickness on our floors, and they're hosted by the mass floors, basically meaning if we enter the option 3 and I click on my mass, I go and edit this mass in some kind of way, my mass floors will update. And that's pretty cool. I won't do that right now, but basically that's, if you pull in this side, the facade here on this side, you can click on all the floors and have them automatically update, which is pretty sweet when you're modeling stuff early on. So that's the floors. And now obviously I can click on any floor, like this floor, the top floor. We're going to have an atrium back here with a big room that's going to be looking out north, out of this north side of the facade. We can basically click edit boundary, and this the functionality that I just showed is here, update to face. So if you change the mass in some kind of way, you can just click on this floor or these floors, and then you can say update to face, which is a pretty sweet command. Let's click on the top floor here and go edit boundary. I'm gonna pull this guy in. I'm gonna give it like 18 meters like this, and then you see like there's a difference now between the mass floor and the floor. So basically now I will have some better data on the total area of usable area inside this model. That's actually not possible with a mass floor. So in case you need the detailed areas, I suggest you make a floor schedule and then list all the floors, or start working with rooms and areas and stuff in Revit. We'll touch on that later. So basically now if I click on this guy here and I say update to face, he's going to jump back to the facade. So be a bit careful with that. When you start editing, I'll undo that. When you start editing the floors and moving them away from the mass floors, and they're still hosted on the mass floor, this guy is going to update back to the original position. So that's basically it on floors. Let's check out the sections. They should look a little bit better now. When I open section 2, I can see the actual floor thickness on each level. And next up, I believe we have the facade, so stay tuned.